see what happens when I go. Yeah, let's roll with it.
Okay. Hi, this is Des Walsh, and this is the Marketing Metrics webinar being produced for the Linking Business Professionals Group. And the guest host, or my co-host today, is Lorraine Ball from Indianapolis, and she's a marketing whiz, and she's going to tell you a bit about herself in a moment. I didn't tell her that, but she's going to. And then she's got a presentation for us that will help us all get our heads around marketing metrics. And I have to admit, Lorraine, that I'm one of those people who's really good on the big picture, a broad brush sort of thing, and I have to actually discipline myself to get into metrics. But I know that it's really important, and that's why I really appreciate the fact that you've been prepared to make some time to share from your knowledge and wisdom with us today. So I'm going to I'm going to ask you, Lorraine, to tell us a bit about yourself and how you got into the whole business of marketing, and what are the highlights we might expect today?
Okay, so thanks so much for having me. Hopefully, Des, we were having a little technical issues. I'm hoping I'm not flashing too much on the screen right now.
No, there's no flashing. No, I've got your full kind of PowerPoint rather than just the slideshow showing at the moment.
Perfect. Okay, so a little bit about me.
Yep.
One of the things that I think makes a lot of people laugh when I tell them that I went to school to be an accountant, because anybody who knows me now just laughs because it's so not my personality. But I was really intrigued by the numbers. And so when I was in school and I chatted with my professors about it, they were like, well, there is an analytical side to marketing. And so that's always what's really appealed to me. It's, where you say, you like the big picture and you don't necessarily connect with the analytics. For me, I really love taking a look at the numbers and looking at the stories that the numbers tell me. Today, Round Peg, which is my company, and you can find us at roundpeg.biz, we are a digital agency. We do web design and social media and email marketing for mostly smaller businesses, not necessarily micro enterprises, but companies with, I would say, under 50 employees is kind of our sweet spot. They're typically companies that don't have a full-time marketing person, and we fill a really nice role for them. One of the things that you'll see is the slide deck I'm using today is from Constant Contact, and that's because I'm an authorized reseller for them. But I want to be really clear, this isn't going to be a commercial for the product. I just happen to really like the tool, and it gives me a way to kind of demonstrate things that you can be doing regardless of what platform you're using.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great tool. It's one of the great survivors, Constant Contact, isn't it?
I think so. I've been using it since 2002, which makes me quite, when I get together with other solution providers, I'm kind of the elder statesman in ever so many ways. But I think it's grown, and I think it's worked nicely for us and for our clients, and that's why we stay with it.
Yeah, good product.
Yeah. Cool. So are we ready to get into it? Are there questions?
Yeah. Well,
all right.
I'm not even sure that we've got anybody live here at the moment, but if they are, then let us know and give us a question in the chat. This broadcast is being recorded and will be available on YouTube. And I think that anybody who, like me, needs to know more about metrics and in marketing and analytics, and to apply what we learn, will benefit from this. So away you go.
All right. So let's roll with it. Mm-hmm. So this is the commercial portion of the program, which we'll breeze through, but it's just to kind of let people know the different elements in Constant Contact. Because as you said, it's a pretty robust toolkit.
That's fine. Go right ahead. Because I know it's a good program, and I think people will value knowing about it.
Well, and I think most people, I think of them for specifically their email, which is kind of the granddaddy, but they do have a survey piece, an event registration, and a promotion piece. And so it's really with all those pieces that they started putting together some of these training programs. So what are we really going to talk about today? Today we're going to talk about both reports and analytics, and kind of the way that these things are defined. They are a little bit different. Constant Contact did some research, and what they found is that in general, small businesses believe that reports and analytics have a very positive impact on their business. They typically will say, you know, when I get into the numbers, and actually in this one study, 75% of businesses said, you know, when I pay attention to the numbers, I really do have an advantage. The data point that surprised me was this one, which said that they also think when they're paying attention to the numbers, it helps them retain customers. So,
sorry, Lorraine, if I can just interrupt, your slides are not showing. You just still showing your PowerPoint main screen.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, because I'm on number, I don't know how to get you to catch up because I'm already 3 or 4 slides ahead. I wonder if there's just a delay in them loading.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, are we still the only ones on the call?
As far as I know. Anybody else there? Please say hello. One viewer, it says here. One viewer.
Okay. So I'm going to...
We're having some technical problems.
So I am going to keep talking.
Can you restart that? Can you restart the slides?
Sure. Let's...
oh, here, something's coming up here now.
What are you seeing?
I'm seeing two buildings, and it says, we're here because you've told us you're interested in using reports and analytics.
Okay, I am going to try...
3 small business we spoke to, etc.
Okay, I'm going to try something because it seems like when we get into full screen mode is when it's sort of... and so you're instead of... oops. So some of my little effects may not work. Let's try this again. It seems to not like being in full screen. That's when it seems to bog down. So we're gonna, bear with me a sec. This, oh, I just pulled it right off. Well, great.
We all experience technical difficulties, and it's very frustrating at the time.
All right, so,
I'm now seeing a slide that says marketing with reports and analytics, marketing campaigns, types and reports, email, event, survey, etc.
Well, that's great. I'm glad you're seeing that one. All right. So basically, I am not going to let this throw me. We're going to talk. The slides are really more just background for what I'm talking about. And so I think we can just kind of chat through this, and I'm just not going to let this mess me up.
That's great.
But basically, what we're going to talk about are the different kinds of data points that you should be looking at for each of the different types of marketing campaigns that you can run. Whether you're managing a social media campaign, or you're managing a email marketing campaign, or you're running a seminar or an event like this one, each of those different tools has its own way of measuring and paying attention to it. And so let's kind of start with some of the basics. So the first kind of campaign that you might, I don't know whether it's, there we go. The first kind of campaign that you might be running might be an email marketing campaign. And with an email marketing campaign, there are several different numbers that you want to pay attention to. The first of those numbers is your open and your click-through rates. And one of the reasons, and let me just step back because it kind of got a little ahead of myself. The thing about marketing, all marketing, it's really designed to elicit a response. If you're a multi-million-dollar company, it's perfectly okay to be running a program that just, quote, builds awareness. But if you're a small business and you're spending $100, $500, $1,000, or $2,000, you really want to have and see results. And that's where both the reports and analytics really come into play. The reports are really information that tells you what's happening now. So you can get a sense of, oh, I just ran an email campaign and so many people opened it or so many people clicked. And that's great. But then what you're really looking for, the analytics, is where you start asking the questions. What does that mean? So what? What do I do next? Okay? And so we're going to look at kind of both the numbers that you should pay attention to in all those different campaigns and what you do with the data. So one of the things that, and I think for people who are watching the program, and I will send you kind of a worksheet that we have that we use that kind of helps you think about all these different campaigns that you could be running and what the appropriate measures are. So for example, in email, we want to focus on open, click-through, bounce, spam, and opt-out. What's your open rate? If you send 100 emails, how many people opened it? Now, if you're sending that email from your Outlook, you probably won't know the answer to that question. But that's why tools like Constant Contact and these other tools become important, because they will show you not only how many people opened, but who opened it. The next metric is click-through rate. And that metric tells you how many people not just opened it, but of the people who opened it, who was interested enough to click the read more button. So as a business owner, like when I'm promoting a seminar, Des, I might send out 500 invitations, and maybe 100 people, if I'm lucky, open the invitation. And then maybe 20 of those 100 click on the registration button, and 10 register. Well, am I going to call all 500 people? No. But what I might do is pick up the telephone and call the 10 people who clicked through but didn't complete a registration. And I can use that data to really manage my sales process and use my time wisely because I have information. Bounces are an indication of bad email addresses because, you know, people change their email addresses all the time. And you want to pay attention also to opt-outs, to how many people are saying, you know what, I really don't want to pay attention to your email anymore. You send me too much, whatever.
Are you still there? I can't hear you. Lorraine? What do we do?
Des, can you hear me?
I can now, yeah.
Oh, so it did. So not only am I, my PowerPoint is not working, the system is kicking me off at the same time.
It's
All
amazing.
right.
We got to where you were talking about those who clicked through but didn't complete the process and
Absolutely.
opt out. You were talking about opt outs. You know, the people who've
Opt out.
now we've lost. No, okay, so you do need to do your screen share again.
I'm working on it. So people who opt out If that number gets really large, what that's telling you is you're boring them. You're sending them information that they don't want. And so that's a really important number to pay attention to, is how many people are opting out, because that tells you that it tells you the interest level and the long-term interest level. So now let's kind of move away from email, because it isn't just about email. When you start running events, as an event organizer, the numbers and the metrics you should be paying attention to is how many people are registering versus how many people are actually attending. Especially, and I don't know what it's like in Australia, but here in the US, we've got, it's this really odd behavior where people will register for events, even events that they have paid for, and then not show up.
Yep.
And so that's something really to kind of pay attention to and watch, is kind of what that percentage is. And we're going to talk a little bit about, well, what do you do if your registration is low or your attendance is low? When you send a survey, you want to look at how many people actually respond and how many people give up halfway through. When you do an offer or a promotion, you want to look at how many people actually buy or connect, like download your offer, download your coupon, and then use it. But you want to dive deeper into the data. It's not just a matter of how many people. You really want to know how many new customers, because if every time you run a coupon or a sale, it's always the same people that come back, basically, you're just throwing money away. Yes, you want to keep your existing customers happy, but you're going to develop a pattern where they wait and never work with you unless you're discounting your services. So the only reason to offer promotions and discounts is if that's going to bring you new customers. So you really kind of have to watch that metric. For organizations that are doing fundraising and using campaigns, the metrics that are important to them totally, number one, how many dollars of donations are they getting totally? How many donors? What's the average donation size? Because over time, what you want to see is you want to raise more money. But if the average donation doesn't grow over time, you're just going to have to keep knocking on more and more doors. What you want to do is begin to cultivate a donor base that gets more connected to your cause and then is more likely to donate a higher amount. And then on social media, and I think this is one of the things that people often pay attention to the wrong thing. They get all excited about how many fans they have or how many Twitter followers they have. Well, I have thousands of followers on Twitter, but I probably have only a few hundred people that really pay attention to me on a regular basis.
Yep.
And so the number that you really want to pay attention to is not just fans and followers, but what I call engagement. How many likes, how many shares, how many retweets, how many replies. And that behavior it may be called something different on LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook, but that's the behavior that you're looking for. How many people are actually paying attention? So those are kind of the metrics. Now let's take a look at the analytics. What do you do with this information? Well, if you've got email, let's say, for example, with a high open rate but a low click-through, what that means is you have done a good job of segmenting your list and you have people that are interested in what you have to say. And they are willing to open the email and see what you have to say. But once they get inside, you're not doing a good job of delivering on the promise. You're not doing a good job. Maybe you've got a great subject line, But then when they open it up, there's no strong call to action. Or maybe the email is too long and they get bored. So if the open rate is good, and these days an open rate of 20% is good, but if your click-through rate is less than 10, you need to focus your attention on making your content of your newsletter better. On the other hand, if you have a low open rate, but a high click-through rate, so you send out 1,000 emails and only 100 people open, but then once they open, they're clicking and they're reading more. Now what that tells you is you're trying to send the same message to everyone, and you have segments in your community. And you would be far better off if you subdivided your list and sent smaller email campaigns to 100 or 200 people who all seemed interested in a topic. So you sent more targeted, concentrated information to that narrow list, and then try testing some other messages with the rest of your community.
That's a great suggestion. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
I mean, you know, one of the best. No. I mean, that's good. That's why we do this. But like a really good example is I have guys that do real estate investment, and they have people that have bought properties from them, and then they have other people that have said they're interested but never bought. Well, those two groups, the messaging is different. The people who are already in their network are going to maybe be interested in a promotional special that allows them to maybe get maintenance on their properties at a discounted rate. If I don't have property with you, I'm not going to care. So that's a good way to kind of segment that list.
Yeah.
If you're doing events and you're getting low registration, so not a lot of people are registering, but the vast majority of them show up, then what I would do is right before the event, I might send out a bring a friend promotion. If you, maybe it's, if you're charging for the event, offer them a second ticket at half price, because you know that the people that register come. And that's a good way to kind of boost attendance at the last minute. On the other hand, if you get high registration but low attendance, so lots of people sign up and then they don't show up, then you might want to think about doing some kind of incentive. For us, a lot of times, we also do a lot of email reminders. Hey, it's the day before, just a quick reminder, you registered for this. If it's a small seminar, I'll get on the telephone and call. But one of my favorite incentives, a friend of mine does this. She charges for her event. It's $50 to register for the event. If you show up, you get 25 or 30 of it back. So the incentive is if you're paying for the event, but you come, it's only going to cost you half of what you committed. She's even, there are some times that she'll even refund the entire registration fee if you come.
Right.
So the idea is just to put something out there that gives people, I'm going to apologize, we have a cat that lives here in the office, and he has decided he wants to be noisy today. Yeah, you know, life at Round Peg. I mentioned we were a digital agency. I don't know whether I told you that we're a little bit of a strange digital agency. Okay, so social media. If you've got high engagement.
Can I just go back?
Yes.
Sorry, could I just go back one step? I just want to reinforce what you're saying about the value of knowing who's opened things. And I distinctly remember a client of mine is a company that deals with government a lot, and they were one of the people testifying at a Senate hearing, and one of the senators was really giving my client a bit of a hard time. But the interesting thing was that my client knew that this particular senator was one of the first people to open their newsletter every week, so he had an advantage. So he was quite relaxed about it, because he knew this guy was interested and informed about what they were doing and was just really testing him a bit, So it was very powerful knowledge he had.
You know what? Information is power. It is incredibly powerful. I will play innocent sometimes, where I'll send out a newsletter and I know who opened it and I know when they opened it, and I may pick up the telephone and simply say, "Hey, we sent out an email this morning. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it yet." Well, I know they have, but it's a little creepy if I say, "Hey, I know you opened that email at 9:05 this morning." But it opens up that conversation.
Yes.
And kind of the other thing is, this is kind of an interesting statistic, about 50% of all email is being opened on mobile devices. And so if you send out an invitation to an event, I may open it on my telephone, but if the registration form is complicated to fill out, I may not want to do that from my phone. And so I abandon the registration form. When I call people and say, "Hey, I don't know if you saw it," and they may say to me, "Oh my God, yes, I saw it, but I was on my phone and I wanted to register, but it was really hard to do," I'll say to them, "Oh, really? Would you like me to do that for you right now?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it gives you an opportunity to be proactive in your sales process.
That's great.
Okay, so let's switch over and let's talk about social media. And on social media, again, I think a lot of times people focus on the engagement. I'm entertaining my audience. They're liking, they're tweeting, they're laughing, they're putting little comments. All of that is great. But at the end of the day, what you want is for people to click through your messages on social media to your website. In a way, social media is a lot like going to a singles bar. Now, I know it's been a couple of years since you and I have gone, but you're going to go, you're going to meet a lot of nice people, but your end game is to bring your date home.
Mm-hmm.
And home is your website. And so if you've got high engagement but low click-through, what that probably means is that you're not giving people compelling reasons to click through. They may like what you're saying, but they're not getting the connection. I made a joke about my office cat that was wandering through. We feature the cats a lot in our Facebook posts, and we always get lots of people talking about us.
Mm-hmm.
When they click through, we want them to click through on the next blog post that is a link to an article that one of us has written. So by mixing it up, we have people that kind of are paying attention to what we have to say, but we're giving them good reasons to click through.
Yep, got it.
On the other hand, if you've got low engagement and high click, what that means is that you need to widen your community. You need to do more to reach out to a larger audience. You may have to buy some Facebook ads because Facebook has done some terrible things with hiding content if you're not advertising.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is, if you only have a limited audience and people are clicking through, now you have to switch your focus to your landing page. When people come to your website, what are you doing to kind of capture them and move them to the next step in the process?
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
So, kind of switching over, just kind of talking a little bit, just more in general terms about the different metrics, whether you are focusing on your web traffic or your email marketing or your social media, you need to have a goal. You need to start with some kind of line in the sand. All too often I meet with small business owners and they're like, well, that didn't work out the way I wanted. And I'm like, okay, well, what did you want? And they'll say, well, more than I got. That's not, and that's not a goal or a metric. So you got to set a number and say, okay, I want 10% open rate or 10% click through, or this is going to be successful if 10 people like it and 5 people share it. and set that baseline, and then run your campaign and look at what happened. Compare what actually happened to what you hoped would happen, or compare what actually happened to what happened the last time. And then start looking at, well, how do I learn? What can I do differently? One of the examples that we have is, a company was looking for a certain open rate on their email. They were hoping for 16%. And they ran a campaign to promote their new website. And the headline was, check out our new website. And they were disappointed when the open rate wasn't there. Well, like a lot of marketing messages, that headline was all about the company and not about the customer. Yeah, I like you, but do I really like you well enough to go look at your new website? Probably not.
Yeah.
So they ran a second campaign, and this time what they put in the subject line, they were a yoga studio, and what they put in the subject line was one of the benefits of the new website. Registering for your favorite class just got easier. When you opened it up, the email talked about the new online registration system on their new website. But what they had done was they had used that subject line to answer the question, what's in it for me? And what's in it for the reader? And so making that change, they reran that campaign and they got a significantly higher open rate. So by setting up the metrics and setting a goal and then looking at, did it work, didn't it work? Now they could kind of make adjustments and tweak it and get better the next time. If you've got a big enough email list, I would recommend running the same campaign with 2 different subject lines. Which one gets opened better? Test the time of day. Same thing with social media posts. On Facebook, you can really only do 1 update, a day as a business, maybe 2. But on Twitter, we'll have multiple posts throughout the day. And so we can play with different subject lines and see, what did people pay attention to? What did they ignore? And then as a business owner, you should have some, whether it's an Excel spreadsheet or a workbook or just your analytics file, a way of tracking over time. So you can go back and say, are we better than we were a year ago, or we're not? And if we're not, why not? Marketing is a horse race, and every time you do something, your competitor does something. And so you really kind of have to be paying attention to the numbers, because there'll be little shifts over time, but eventually you're going to see a big decline or increase in that trend. And if you're paying attention week by week by week, you'll catch those trends either as they're going up or down and be able to react accordingly.
Yeah, I've got a spreadsheet for my newsletter, for instance, and after I've got some stats back in, a few days after it's gone out, I draw these. I used another program, not Conscious Contact, but I pull out the number sent. The number opened, the number and as a percentage, and I just do a little calculation of the percentage of the total number on the list, and then I do a percentage of click to open. And I'm pleased to say it kind of matches up a bit with those figures you gave earlier. But I also put down the day and the time that I sent it out, and it's quite interesting to compare different rates of opening because I varied it a bit deliberately across different days and then different times of the day. So and I discovered, for instance, that I got probably more people in North America than they do than in Australia. So that's useful information too. So, but the thing I wanted to say was that what I've found is it's better to do that on a week by week basis than to try and say I will do that on a 6 monthly basis or something. And,
absolutely.
It's a bit like keeping account of if you don't keep account of your finances until it's time for the tax man, you're going to get a pretty distorted view of things as to compared to if you do it on at least a weekly basis.
Oh, absolutely. No, I think you're absolutely right. And that whole subject of time of day has been so interesting. I've been doing, as I said, I've been doing email marketing since 2002, and I always sent for maybe 5 or 6 years my emails at 6 o'clock in the morning, because business owners were cleaning out their email at night and then logging on with their cup of coffee in the morning, and I would be the only thing in their inbox. And that worked for years and years and years. And I still get my best open rate in the morning, but if I actually want them to click and download or fill out a form, I have to send it at 10 o'clock. Because at 6 or 7 in the morning, now they're doing it on their telephone. They're not bringing their laptops home anymore. They're not opening up a computer desktop. And so I have to do different messages first thing in the morning than middle of the day.
Fascinating.
Okay, I want to swap over just for a minute or two and talk about web metrics. And everybody probably has Google Analytics and they look at all the analytics, but the truth is that you can have just complete overwhelming paralysis. And so what we usually recommend to people is that they pay attention to just a few numbers. Number one, do you have more visits than you had a year ago at this time? And the reason we say a year ago at this time is because most businesses are seasonal in nature. So if you're comparing to last month, it's not necessarily an accurate picture. For example, here in the US, if I start working with a heating and air conditioning company and I start working with them in June, I'm going to look brilliant by the end of July if they compare back 1 month. But the truth is that that was just seasonal. On the other hand, if they compare me July 2015 to July 2014, now I really got to prove that I added some value. Okay? So I always tell people your objective should be more visits than a year ago today. And then the other thing I really think that people should pay attention to is where is your traffic coming from? Because this series of numbers will tell you where to spend on marketing. In your Google Analytics, there is organic search, direct, referral, social, email, and paid. If you want to improve your direct traffic, you can't do that online. There is nothing that you can do in the world of the internet that will improve direct traffic, because direct traffic is based on what you do in the real world. Do you have signs on your building? Do you have television ads? Are you at networking events? Are you handing out your business cards? What are you doing to get inside someone's head so that when they go to the internet, they type in your name? And that's the only way to build direct traffic. In contrast, organic traffic is going to be built by putting more content with relevant keywords. Referrals are going, so blog. I mean, we tell people, you want to improve your rankings on Google? Give Google more information about you. Tell them more about who you are and what you're doing. Referrals, as a business, you need to know all of the different directories that are relevant for your industry. Are you seeing my screen right now?
I've got where does traffic come from? Focus on weekend stores.
Fabulous. It only took me all the way through this conversation to get this computer to work correctly. So if you're looking for referral traffic, this is where directory listings and cross promotions come in. If you don't have a significant number of your traffic coming from other sources, you need to do that. Social activity, get more active, and email, create or expand your list.
Okay.
And we're locked up again. There we go. Your objective is you want to have visitors look at least 2 pages per session. And if they're not, there are a couple of things that you can do. Number one, you need to make sure you've got a mobile responsive design, because that's going to, somebody gets to your website, it's crappy, they're going to leave. You want to check load speed. Select clear, simple calls to action. So if they're on a page, they know where they need to go next. People used to have websites with 5 and 6 different calls to action, figuring, well, somebody will click on something. No,
that's right.
Wrong. What the research shows is the more choices, the faster somebody goes running for the hills. So you want to, we're going to correct that. Oops. I thought I could be smart here and fix that pretty quickly, and of course it doesn't want to work. So simple, you want to have simple navigation, fewer choices, relevant content with good links, and then just more information. The other thing you want to be doing is you want to be paying attention to what people like. So wrapping up through what has been an incredibly challenging webinar, but hopefully people have gotten some good information out of it. You need to set benchmarks for yourself. It's not about what other people are doing. You need to be looking at your best self and trying to get better. Like you were saying earlier, Des, this idea that you have to review the data on a regular basis, and then don't try to change everything at once. Do it in pieces and work on one thing and then work on something else and then work on something else. And that would be a wrap.
Great. Well, we got it working finally.
Oh my God.
And then the other thing is, don't despair if the technology doesn't support you in the first instance. Lorraine, you've got a wealth of knowledge there, and you could do the GoToMeeting or something, but so you get a chance to show all those slides. So we'll put the link. Can we upload the slides to somewhere?
Well, actually, I can do 2
possible?
things. I can upload a PDF of the slides. I can't. I'm not allowed, because so many of them are constant contact slides. I can't share the actual slides. Yeah. But the other thing that I can do is at some point send you another recording that maybe we could replace this one with, which is actually where it actually is working, if you're interested.
Okay, yeah, that'd be fun. Just for the group anyway, we can give them something that they can study. If ending, I can tell you've got so much more to share, and so much more practical advice. It is a challenge, especially I think maybe not just in small business, but I think in small business, we're trying to wear. People are trying to wear so many different hats and try to put out fires and all that sort of thing. And with the best will in the world, some things slip. But you're quite, you're very on target in talking about the importance of measuring things, and also that the answer matter. But what do they mean, and what action should follow from that? And if something needs to be done to grow the people who are, because you may just have the same people who've bought from you once and they're just like getting your newsletter, but they don't actually ever buy from you again. So you need to have more people coming into your, if I can use the old-fashioned word, coming into the funnel. You know.
Absolutely, I think that's totally the case. That
And if you don't have yeah.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, if you've got to have that steady flow. You've got to have that steady flow of people coming in.
So I think we might wrap it up there. The webinar marketing from Lorraine Ball, and she's going to provide another slide, another presentation on this that we can put a link up to on the group site, the Linking Business Professionals. And now, how do people get in touch with you, Lorraine?
The easiest way is Lorraine@roundpeg.biz.
Okay.
And also, I'm a member of the Linking Professionals group, and anyone in the group, if they want to connect with me and say that they're part of the group, I'm more than happy to have a conversation that way too.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much for your patience and your determination in sticking with it in spite of the technical challenges.
Thank you, Des. You know, it's just this is my week for computer gremlins. Normally the technology is...
you were telling me.
Yeah, but it's okay. Thanks for having me, and maybe sometime we'll do it again when the technology is working for me.
Yeah, great. Thanks very much, Lorraine.
Thank you.
Have a good
Bye
evening.
now. You too. Bye now.
Bye now.